Hello everyone and welcome back to another day of Road to TCG Worlds. This time though, I would say this is Road to TCG Worlds 2018, simply because we are going to be reviewing the cards, or we are going to take a quick look over which cards are leaving us in the new standard format for the 2017-2018 season. I'm going to be taking a look or showcasing the most important cards that I think that we lose. The criteria is cards that were either played at some point in the metagame, they were interesting, they had potential, all of those things. And I think as I was looking through the sets and everything, I found that there were quite a few cards that definitely had an important impact in the metagame, albeit small. So we start off with Bunnelby. Bunnelby is a card that was used, or it could still be used in Houndoom EX discard decks, was an inclusion in Vileplume decks. Burrow and Rototiller both are very good attacks, and the fact that you can use, or you can attack twice with Bunnelby was a really cool mechanic. All of the traits that we see, all of the traits that this set brought to us, such as on Bunnelby or other cards that we will see just a little bit later on, that's something that we haven't seen reprinted yet. So maybe we will see that mechanic in the future, but for now, this mechanic will no longer be available to us, which is Delta Barrage and Delta Plus, and things like taking extra prize cards, things like being able to evolve, such as Mega Ray, immediately without having to wait a turn. And yeah, so Bunnelby was a very nice utility card. We saw it in decks like Wailord, we saw it in decks with Vileplume. Getting things back under lock was really good. Locking something active and then discarding the top of your opponent's deck was also really good. And Bunnelby definitely made an important splash in our metagame. Now the next card is Cruddant. Cruddant was pretty much exclusively paired with Seismitoad EX back in not last year but 2 years ago, I believe, in the 2015-2016 format. When you play Cruddant from your hand, you get to discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. The attack Crab Hammer is nothing to write home about, honestly. But Unruly Claw was really good, and it could definitely it was a way to remove energy and deny resources from your opponents, whereas things like Crushing Hammer rely on a coin flip. So now that we have Team Flare Grunt, Cruddant seems very underwhelming, but perhaps the combination of Cruddant and Team Flare Grunt could have made for interesting deck concepts. Now, I definitely think that in my Blastoise EX deck, like the Blastoise EX energy removal deck, maybe I could have been using Cruddant instead of Slowking, although Slowking is a permanent effect. Next up, we have Mega Gardevoir EX with Brilliant Arrow. This card I feel like was always pretty underrated. Brilliant Arrow is a really good attack. It's essentially like the new Gardevoir GX coming out in the next set has a very similar attack. They both deal fairy damage per energy. Mega Gardevoir is exclusively fairy energy on your side. Gardevoir GX is energy on Gardevoir GX and the opponent's active Pokemon, so it's definitely better, but it's also a stage 2. Another thing we are losing is Mega Pokemon, I believe. I don't think... Are we? Maybe we're not losing Mega Pokemon. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, no, never mind. We're not losing Mega Pokemon. But we are losing this Mega Pokemon. Or... no, actually we're not, because it got reprinted in Generations. Never mind. Oops. Mega Gardevoir should not be in this list. My bad. Primal Groudon though. Primal Groudon I do think is a card that will be sorely missed. There was talk of Primal Groudon being good. The grass weakness, like in the current standard format, the grass weakness is definitely something that held it back as of late because of the Decidueye and now Golisopod. And especially because there's no Focus Sash, and even if there was, the Decidueye's ability pretty much says, I don't care about Focus Sash, right? I did use this card to get to Day 2 in Worlds 2015, so has a special place in my heart for sure. I was pretty hyped about making Day 2. after having to grind through day 1. And I'm sure in Expanded we'll still be seeing this card be used and produce results, because it's really good. Gaia Volcano being able to 1-hit KO pretty much anything. The combination of that plus Tropical Beaches in order to draw extra cards and set up and facilitate your setup, the humongous HP, and the fact that you don't really care about your Spirit Link usage because the deck is so slow anyways. So that's a huge advantage to Primal Groudon and the Mega Mechanic. Now Hippowdon, another fighting type Pokemon. Resistance Desert was a really underrated attack. I feel like everyone who saw Hippowdon would immediately take a look at the second attack and see double edge, 100 damage and 20 to itself. That's pretty bad for the cost. But then Resistance Desert, there was a time where was actually really good, and I believe Hippowdon did become a card to consider in the metagame, because it's like Regice, but fighting type, and has a little bit extra HP. So the fighting type definitely helped, and Hippowdon definitely gave us a lot of headaches at some point in the metagame, although its time in Stardom was actually pretty low, or pretty small rather. Medicham was another card that people always thought had potential, but I believe its frail stats such as the 90 HP and the Psychic Weakness held it back. Also the fact that its attack cost 2 fighting energy. Medicham, just like Bunnelby, can attack twice per turn, so Yoga Kick essentially dealt 60 damage instead of just 30, and then you could combine this with Strong Energy, you could combine this with before Muscle Band, now with Choice Band, you could combine this with Regirock EX, you could combine this with Professor Kukui or Giovanni Scheme now, or before rather. So Medicham always felt like it had potential, but then the 90 HP was pretty low, not being a basic, so you couldn't energy accelerate through Max Elixir. And then the first attack, Calm Mind, being very underwhelming, because sure, healing 30 damage seems good, but healing 30 damage on a 90 HP Pokemon, I mean, that seems like a waste of an attack. Seeing how good Calm Mind actually is in the video game, I'm really surprised they made it this bad on the Medicham card. Then we have Ninetales, which once again, on paper looked very good, but I don't think it was ever used successfully so far. Barrier Shine, preventing players from playing stadium cards seemed really good. It was touted as a good card in Mega Rayquaza in order to prevent opponents from getting rid of your Skyfield, and also from preventing your opponent to play Parallel City. However, in practice, trying to get out the Ninetales and things like that, because I do remember testing it, it ended up being not worth the effort. It was just better to play the 4 Skyfield, potentially play 4 Puzzle of Time, and then getting back the cards you needed that way. Then we have Trevenant TX. I actually lost to a Trevenant TX deck at Worlds in 2016, or 2015 actually. No, I actually beat the Trevenant X. It was with an Aromatisse Toolbox. But Trevenant X is a really good card. We even saw it get used in the Oceania International Championships in Australia with the CDI, since you could trap things with Dark Forest and then use the CDI's ability to target different Pokemon, whilst you had something like a Hoopa or a Vileplume up in the active spot. So Trevenant TX, definitely a good card. Wood Blast I don't think was ever really used. It could see some play maybe in the future with Virizion EX and Expanded, but yeah, we are also losing this card. Now the next card is Excadrill. Excadrill is actually currently decently viable because of Delmis adding damage, and then it kind of works like Medicham, where Excadrill gets to attack twice, but it actually has 2 really good attacks. Dredge powering Excadrill up is really good, and then Maclaw, it's only 20 more damage from in comparison to Medicham, but essentially since you're attacking twice, it reads 100 instead of just 50. And then with Delmis and with Choice Band and Professor Kukui, the damage could pile up really quickly. So I feel like, especially with Gardevoir GX coming out, maybe this card's time to shine is yet to come. Maybe Worlds will see a splash of Excadrill. And then we have Milotic, another card that saw some success in very specific decks such as Vespiquen. I did see one of the Mega Gardevoir lists in Mexico was playing a 1/1 Milotic, because you could use its ability and then discard it, and getting a card from your discard pile is always really good, especially when it's not restricted. You can get any card you need. The issue with Milotic was always the frail Feebas, which have always historically had 30 HP. Now we also have Primal Kyogre, another interesting card we're losing. A different trait, Alpha Growth, which allows you to attach an extra energy per turn every time you attach an energy to Primal Kyogre. So you could essentially power it up in 2 turns instead of 4 with its 4 energy cost. Tidal Storm, there was a time where everyone was playing EXs, all the decks were playing full benches of Shamans and Yveltals and other things, and 240 HP was actually a really hard number to hit, and 150 actually made it so 150 plus 30 to the bench made for some really cool maths to happen. I actually used Primal Kyogre at a regional championship in 2015, and I believe I got top 8 or top 4 with it. So yeah, then we have the infamous Wailord EX, a card that everybody hated to play against. A lot of people loved seeing it do well. It managed to get 2nd place at the United States National Championship in 2015, I believe, by utilizing a stalling strategy, or not stalling, but a decking out strategy, where your Wailord EXs with 250 HP essentially become invincible. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use high breaching for 120 and putting Wailord to sleep. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think we ever will in a competitive tournament. However, well, actually, maybe in the Blastoise decks from Worlds that year, they were playing Wailord, so perhaps high breaching has been used, maybe even on stream. And yeah, Wailord, we do lose that stalling strategy. Newer stalling strategies have emerged, such as the Quad Wolfed Jolteon Glacian decks, and what else have we seen emerge? Sylveon as well. So the concept is still there, it's just we don't get the 250 HP basic to go with that strategy. Then we lose Sacrobike, key element to decks like Vespiquen or Night March. But nothing else really needed to accelerate that badly that they would have to sacrifice one of the 2 cards they would see at the top of their deck. We lose Dive Ball, which is actually a really big hit to decks like Greninja, because yes, Greninja stays in format, but without Dive Ball, I feel like it's going to have a very difficult time keeping up with the metagame. We do have decks like Butterbugs, but with Aqua Patch now, the preferred way to go with it is definitely Ultra Ball. Repeat Ball is a card that only was noticed pretty much until recently. Another card to be included in Greninja. Some people are the most successful lists back in Fort Wayne regionals, I believe, were using 2 Repeat Balls, and there were others who went down to 1. Definitely got some use, but probably not enough for the utility this card could have provided. Then we have Rough Seas. All the water type decks will definitely miss this card. Not too many electric type decks going around right now. In Expanded, this card is definitely played in Mega Man Electric decks, but Mega Man Electric has also not been very successful as of late. So definitely if Water Box still has some place in the metagame, it will definitely sorely miss the healing that Rough Seas provides, along with the Manaphy EX. Or actually Manaphy EX Day, so it's mostly Rough Seas. Shrine of Memories, a card that was exclusively used with Mega Mewtwo. Now that we're getting Charizard GX, there are people who wanted to use this card in order to be able to use Charmander's Rage attack. However, we are getting a new Celebi which has essentially this this text as an ability. You can use attacks from your previous evolutions as your attack for the turn. And so yeah, I mean, we lose the stadium, but we don't lose the concept. Then we have Silent Lab. I would say out of all of these cards, this is the most impactful loss in the metagame. Silent Lab, or not having to worry about Silent Lab, means Mega Gardevoir would have been really good. This is the staple stadium in decks like Greninja. The new Gardevoir GX will probably be running this at Worlds. So not having Silent Lab anymore definitely opens up some strategies. Basic Pokemon will no longer have to fear of their abilities being shut off by Silent Lab. We do have a Lowland Mach, which essentially reads just like Silent Lab, but it is a stage 1, whereas this was an immediate stadium you could play down on your first turn of the game. So not to... this card was definitely feared by a lot of decks, and I'm sure we will still be seeing it included and used in successful lists in the expanded format. Then we have Archie's Ace in the Hole. This card was actually the world champion card back in 2015 in the Blastoise deck, but ever since we lost Battle Compressor, neither Archie's nor Maxis have seen any play at all. People were talking about using this with Sylveon, because Sylveon could specifically search out the cards for you to drain out your hand and make sure you could play Maxis. However, nothing ever materialized, and the reward versus effort you get from using these two cards is definitely not worth it at this point in time, because there's easier ways to accomplish what these cards are trying to accomplish. Teammates. Teammates is probably the second most impactful card. Ever since Tapu Lele got released, Teammates' use actually skyrocketed in a lot of decks. We are seeing more supporter variety, and Tapu Lele facilitates that you can search for a single copy of Teammates and use it immediately. So once the format rotates, we still have Tapu Lele's incredible Wonder Tag ability. However, we don't have access to Teammates anymore. Weakness Policy is a card that a lot of decks try to include in order to counter their weakness, of course. Back when there was no Field Blower, this card could have been actually useful. I did try it out in Solgaleo Lurantis to try and combat Volcanion, but it never really worked out that well. You had to commit like at least 2, probably 3 to make it worth your time, and then that's essentially 3 cards completely wasted in any matchup that is not your weakness. So unless you're weak to the most popular typing in the format, and that typing is like 70% of the metagame, this card probably wasn't ever going to be too impactful in the metagame. And finally, we have the Shield Energy and the Wonder Energy. Neither card has in any real competitive play, I would say. Maybe Shield Energy, definitely not Wonder Energy. However, some of the new Gardevoir GX lists might start to include Wonder Energy because it protects against effects like Righteous Edge from Drampa, it protects against Confusion from Psybeam from Espion. So we might actually see the first time, the first use of Wonder Energy at the World Championships this year. So yeah, these are the 23 cards that I believe are the most impactful that we lose from Primal Clash. Definitely some more than others. I wouldn't weigh Shield Energy the same as Hippowdon, the same as Primal Groudon, the same as Silent Lab, and I would say Silent Lab, Rough Seas, and Teammates are the biggest losses for our current metagame. Every other card here, Teammates definitely sees play, Acrobike sees play in a very specific Vespiquen deck, but other than that, I do think those are the 3 cards, Teammates, Rough Seas, and Silent Lab, the 3 cards that will be the most missed out of this whole set. So yeah guys, this was a quick recap on the Primal Clash cards that we do lose. Tomorrow we will be reviewing Roaring Skies, and then finally Ancient Origins on Wednesday. So stay tuned for those videos. And then on Thursday, hopefully, the videos will be ready, and I should be able to present to you some Burning Shadows content, which will be a little different from what we're used to. It will not have any PTCGO, and it's taking me a while to edit the videos. The other day I spent 6 hours editing a 3-minute video. So it'll be like Gardevoir GX. The first video will be Gardevoir GX in under 5 minutes. So I really hope you guys enjoy that. Please like on the video if you can. It helps out the channel. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.